Abisola's boss started showing interest in her immediately after her husband Kunle relocated abroad. They were barely 2 months into their marriage when Kunle got a visa to travel. It was a very good job and Abisola was very excited for him. But the excitement didn't last long because the thought of being apart just when they were learning how to build their new home together broke her heart. Kunle assured her over the phone, saying, "Don't worry, love, once I settle down, I will start processing your visa and we won't be apart for too long." His word gave her hope and she held on to them like a promise written in gold. But soon, loneliness came with full force. That was when Abisola's boss, Femi, started being extraordinarily nice by buying her breakfast, surprising her with lunch, and sending her little notes commending her hard work. At first, she thought it was kindness and that at least someone was present since her husband wasn't around anymore. But she had no idea that her boss had an agenda. The flowers started arriving and the first bouquet was anonymous, with roses wrapped beautifully with a note that read, "To a special one." Her heart skipped when she read it because her husband used to send her flowers when he was still in the country. Could it be him again, she wondered. Night later, Abisola asked randomly over the phone, "Honey, how are you able to send me flowers? How did you even manage it?" However, Kunle laughed lightly and told her he was still settling and had not yet figured out how to send anything to her. It was almost the sixth time she had received flowers and gifts, so her heart sank, wondering who it was if it was not her husband. The next day at work, Abisola's boss Femi walked in just as she was cleaning her desk and he gave her that practice smile of ease. "I know it hasn't been easy for you this past month. Young marriage, your husband is abroad, and just those long nights. I just want you to know that you are not alone and I'm always here for you. A shoulder to lean on and someone to talk to. I want to make sure your moments here are worth it and not wasted in loneliness." His words sounded thoughtful and Abisola smiled faintly. "Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it," she said, but her spirit wasn't at rest, wondering what the sudden proximity was about. Soon, another bouquet arrived and the flowers were so beautiful and irresistible. It was accompanied with a note which read, "You light up the world, just like these flowers light up the room." And in the same package was the latest jewelry set, expensive heels, and a nice luxurious bag that women will spend so much on to get. And yet, Abisola told the delivery man, "Please tell whosoever is sending this that unless they reveal themselves, I would not accept them again." And after then, silence followed. The flowers and the gifts stopped coming. Deep inside, Abisola missed them because it kind of meant that she was being seen. However, she convinced herself that maybe it was a secret admirer who did not want themselves to be known, that and it could never be her boss who was always gazing at her heatedly like he had so much to say during meetings and business hangouts. Why would a man who knew she was married do that? Life went on and the lonely nights grew longer for Abisola. Sometimes her and her husband would struggle with the time difference. He would be at work while she would be at home missing him. On video calls, they would end up crying together and he would comfort her with the kindest word that they would soon be together. And she hoped desperately in her heart. Then one afternoon, Femi, Abisola's boss, offered to take her out for lunch and said it was harmless because it was one of the stipends offered by the company. He also added that two other colleagues were invited. Abisola hesitated, but since it just looked like one of their usual luncheons, she went along. However, on getting there, she realized that it was only her and her boss that had arrived. Thinking the other two were running late, she tried to remain calm, but her boss struck up a conversation. They laughed and talked for a while that she forgot her sorrow. They talked at great length, and Abisola realized the eloquence in his mannerism and his good looks were reason why he was on high demand by several ladies in their office and even outside the office, even probably why he was still single in his late 30s. The night ended quite wonderfully, even if the two colleagues did not later come and Femi dropped her off at home. He also called her later that night to know how she was faring, just a few minutes after she had been so bothered that she had called her husband incessantly and his number was not going through. From that day, Abisola realized that her boss, Femi, began to give her so much attention, and for some reason, she began to enjoy it unconsciously. He asked about her day, asked what she was doing, and if there was anything that he could do to make her comfortable, all while being unable to speak to her husband for some days in a row because he was too busy. Sometimes, Femi would call her in the night to ask for some files regarding one of their clients, and they would end up talking into late nights about random things that were not even concerned with their work. His sense of humor matched her so much that she began to notice the tension heightening at night whenever she was talking to him. She wanted her husband's touch. Just barely few weeks later, after her husband promised that they would soon meet, Abisola received an email at her office that her visa had been denied, and tears immediately started flowing from her cheeks because she missed her husband so much. It had been 6 months already and she missed him so terribly. Seeing the email, she buried her face in her palms and sobbed endlessly when the door of her office suddenly opened as her boss stepped in. "What happened? Why are you crying?" he asked, his voice dripping with concern. "My visa was declined," Abisola sobbed. "I can't join my husband. I can't take this distance anymore." And before she knew it, her boss pulled her into a hug, patting her back as he whispered softly into her ear that everything would be fine. Carefully separating from her, Abisola's boss, Femi, used the storm to wipe her tears while staring into her face and then tilted her chin up as he grazed her lip and tried to kiss her. "What are you doing?" Abisola regained herself and pushed him hard. Femi smirked, biting his lips. "Come on, don't act like you don't know. I've been sending you flowers, buying you lunch, sending gifts, and bringing breakfast. You can't tell me you don't feel anything for me. Your husband has been gone for over 6 months. You can't tell me you don't crave a man's touch. My touch." His words resonated deeply within her, the truth, but they also jolted her back to reality, knowing that she could never afford to fall for this. Abisola breathed deeply, her body still trembling from what almost happened. "No, I will never break my vows. Not now, not ever." She picked her bag and walked out of the office, telling herself that it was better to leave than fall into temptation. That night, Abisola told Kunle everything that had happened and he was so calm. He told her that she did the right thing and that she should not go back there because God will make a way for them. But almost immediately after she quit, life began to suffocate her from every corner. They had poured all their savings into Kunle's relocation, and since he was still sorting things out, things at home grew tight. Abisola's mother fell ill, and the hospital bill swallowed what she had left. More than once, she opened her empty account and cried because the thought of returning to her job haunted her, and getting a new job had not been easy. Femi had sent her several messages too that the offer for her position was still open if she wanted to come back, but she blocked him off too to preserve her mind. The temptation was heavy, real, and persistent because Femi continued to send emails of a better position with a 20% salary increase, but each time she remembered his hands on her shin, his smirk, and the words he said to her, she would shake her head knowing that she could not afford to go back. Many nights she would cry because of loneliness and would be so stressed out because she was doing nothing. And just when it looked like nothing was changing, a breakthrough came after Kunle reapplied for her visa, and this time the approval came through. When Abisola boarded the plane, her heart was pounding with every mile bringing her closer to the man she had fought so hard to hold on to. At the airport, the moment her eyes found Kunle, all the months of loneliness, the tears, temptation, and struggles broke open inside her. She ran into his arms as they clung to each other, crying, laughing, and wailing all at once. 8 months apart, and they had survived it. That night, they had all the time to themselves in a way they had never done since the beginning of their marriage. Looking back, Abishola shuddered at how close she came to making a terrible mistake, but she thanked God for self-discipline and the grace to walk away because if she had hesitated just a few seconds at the moment, her boss would have taken advantage and pretended like nothing happened. Today, she was glad her and her husband's love story did not crash, and they lived happily ever after.